On this vote, the yeas are 55 and the nays are 45. The 60-vote threshold having not been achieved, the bill upon reconsideration is not passed.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like.
The United States has entered its first federal government shutdown in nearly 7 years. Senate Democrats blocked a Republican-backed funding bill, leaving agencies without money to operate. The vote fell 55 to 45. Short of the 60 needed to overcome a filibuster and keep the government open. The shutdown began at 12:01 a.m. on October 1st, forcing federal agencies to halt non-essential work. At issue are deep partisan divides over healthcare subsidies and broader spending priorities. Republicans pushed for a clean stopgap bill, while Democrats demanded protections for health programs. The Congressional Budget Office says about 750,000 staff could be sidelined. That means around $400 million lost in daily pay to federal employees. While workers in essential roles such as air traffic controllers, law enforcement, and social security operations will continue working, many services, including passport processing, national park operations, and regulatory inspections, are likely to halt. This is the 21st shutdown since 1977, and the first since the 35-day standoff in 2018 to 19. Ahead of the government shutdown, U.S. President Donald Trump suggested that vast numbers of people could be laid off, something that he said would be irreversible. Government shutdowns are increasingly common, with Trump's first term seeing 3 closures, including the record 35-day shutdown. Earlier, Bill Clinton oversaw a 21-day shutdown in 1995, while Barack Obama faced a 16-day standoff in 2013 over health care, and Ronald Reagan oversaw 8 brief ones in the 1980s.
Mr. President, we are just 14 hours away from a government shutdown. The House has passed a clean, nonpartisan, continuing resolution to fund the government until November the 21st. The President is ready to sign it. But Senate Democrats, they're standing in the way. Mr. President, I quote, "In a vacuum, this CR would get almost every Democratic vote. It just would. This is a clean CR that has no partisan riders, extends a bunch of programs that are Democratic priorities. It's clean," end quote. Now, those last few lines aren't mine, Mr. President, and they're not a quote from some other Republican. They're a quote from a mainstream journalist who is acknowledging what everyone knows, and that is Republicans have offered up a clean, nonpartisan funding extension, the same kind of extension Democrats have repeatedly supported in the past, and Democrats are blocking it for their own partisan purposes. Mr. President, it's right here. It's what it is. This is a partisan CR, 24 pages to keep the government open until November the 21st, at which time the Democrats will have almost same leverage they have right now. I mean, hopefully by then we'll have passed more appropriations bills. I'd like it if we pass all of them. But I think it's reasonable to expect we won't have them all through conference and right a place on the President's desk, so they will have another funding cliff they can take advantage of come November the 21st. This is ready to pass right now. This keeps the government open. This funds the government and protects federal workers and the American people from the hostage-taking that has become, evidently, now the Democrat norm, even though it's something they decried not that many years ago. It's right here, Mr. President. It's in front of us, right here. We can pass this today. Pass it right now. All we have to do get support from the Democrats. House has passed it. This is the House passed bill. We take it up in the Senate, pass it, send it to the President. President signs it into law, and the government stays funded. Pretty straightforward, right? And it's something that was done many, many times in the past, as I mentioned, by Democrats when they had the majority. Now, Mr. President, this right here is a chart I mentioned 13 times. So when the Democrats were in the majority around here, 13 different occasions, we passed short-term continuing resolutions, funding resolutions to keep the government funded. And as you can see, there were a lot of, interestingly enough, Republicans who voted to keep the government open when the Democrats had the majority. 13 separate occasions. You look at the numbers there, the lowest number on any one of those is 65 votes. All we need today in the Senate, in order for us to keep the government open, is to get 8 Democrats to vote with Republicans. That's all it takes. That's all it takes, 8 of them.
On every one of these, I just wanted. On every one of these.
The Democratic leader is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. And if we can get an easel, bring it over, please. Thank the leader for letting me borrow his chart for a minute. So he's pointed to each of these bar graphs, percentage of Democratic senators who supported Biden CRSs. Yes, that's true. Guess why? In each case, Democrats negotiated with Republicans and said, let's have a bipartisan bill. The leader says it's a clean bill. It's a partisan bill. Not once where Democrats asked for what input should be in the bill. We were not told about it, we were not asked about it, etc. Nor did Speaker Johnson talk to Hakeem Jeffries. You cannot pass legislation in the Senate when it comes to appropriations unless it is bipartisan. So the leader will say it's clean. No, it's not clean because there was no discussion. Every one of these times I went to the Republican leader and said, what do you need, what do you want? And in many cases, we had to significantly change the bill. One of our bills had aid to Ukraine. The Republicans didn't want it. To avoid shutting down the government, we talked to them, negotiated, and took it out. But not once was there any bipartisan discussion or talk on this bill. We wanted to give our Republican colleagues a chance. That's why some of us back in March said, okay. But we saw what happened after that. We saw a decimation of health care in the BBB. So bad right now that 80% of Americans support renewing the tax credits of the ACA. We saw them use rescissions, pocket rescissions, impoundments to undo what was done in the legislative process. So the world has changed, but that one way it's changed, and there are several, and I'll get to those, one way it's changed is there was no discussion. And we asked to have meetings. Hakeem Jeffries and I asked the leader and the Speaker to sit down with us as early as July. They didn't. The job of a leader is a bipartisan negotiation. And the appropriators, which you'll say are discussing things. But the two issues we care about, extending the ACA credits, broadly popular with the American people, so they don't want to talk about it, they want to change the subject, and ending these rescissions and impoundments, which would undo what we would do. The four appropriators, when they got down and discussed it, they said that should be for the four leaders to discuss. That's what Thune said. That's what Cole said, the Republican head of appropriations in the House. That's what Collins said. That's what Murray said. That's what DeLauro said. They did not discuss it with us at all. So to say the appropriations process is working is wrong. It's not working. It's not working because the leaders wouldn't discuss it with us.